What if I told you that one of the most powerful design tools is also the simplest? Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am going to revisit my series on design elements and principles because over the last year, I have grown as a YouTuber. And I feel confident that now I could provide a better learning experience for all my design babies out there, and for anyone else who just wants to learn the basics. And each video in this series will dive a little bit deeper than the original series did. In this series, we will talk not only about purpose, but also about the psychology about the purpose of each element in graphic design. If you've ever just looked at a design and felt something, calm, tension, movement, elegance, chances are that line had something to do with it. So today we are going to dive into the first element of graphic design, line. And trust me, by the end of this video, you will never look at lines the same way again. In the most simplest terms, a line is the connection between 2 points. That's it. But this simple act of connecting, it is foundational, not just in graphic design, but also in human perception. Lines help us divide space, define layouts, and guide our eye, but they also carry emotional weight. You could think of lines as the body language of communication. Let's break it down. Vertical lines inherently convey things like strength, power, and growth. Think of things like skyscrapers, tree trunks. They draw your eye up, and that is exactly how they affect the viewer's perception, where horizontal lines feel grounded, stable, and calming. These type of lines mimic the horizon. A flat, wide line suggests rest. These type of lines make me think of a landscape or Zen space. Let's talk diagonal lines. This is where things get really interesting. These type of lines feel unstable by nature. These type of lines, they move, they lean, they suggest things like action and tension. Okay, and finally, let's talk about curved lines. Curved lines are naturally organic, friendly, and emotional. They create rhythm, softness, and even sensuality. Curved lines feel human, and that's why we connect to them instinctively. We are hardwired to connect to lines. And that's not just design, that's neuroscience. Lines guide our gaze. In fact, we read lines similarly to how we read language, from top to bottom, left to right in Western society. And that is why the direction of a line can impact where your eye goes first and how long it stays. Use vertical lines and the viewer pauses. Use diagonal lines and they move. And when you use curved lines in your design, that's when the viewer's eye lingers. That right there is the real power of graphic design, and it starts with a single stroke. Lines don't always need to be drawn. Sometimes your brain automatically fills in the blanks, and these are called implied lines, like when objects align in a way that suggests a path or direction. Fashion photographers use this technique a lot, placing limbs or props to point to key elements in the layout. And designers use lines in things like web design too. Think arrows, breadcrumbs, or aligned grids that subtly guide the eye. Artists and designers have used lines across history to express identity and movement. For example, Mondrian using straight lines to explore spiritual order, or Art Nouveau's curved lines which mirror the beauty, elegance, and chaos of nature. You could also see this in the Bauhaus movement, where designers embrace geometric lines to represent progress. Okay, so let's talk about real-world use. This is a layout that I'm actually working on. Okay, notice how I used horizontal lines to divide space and create rhythm, and the diagonal lines bring energy to an otherwise calm design. And let's say that I added something like a curved text path. That would suggest fluid motion in this product ad. And one trick that I love, using lines subtly in the background. What it does is it draws attention without being too literal. You could think of it like the visual equivalent to a whisper. Okay, so what did we learn today, kids? These are quick tips for you to master using lines in your design work. Tip number 1, vary line weight for contrast. Tip number 2 is to use grids to align elements and create implied lines. And tip number 3 is to think about the eye flow when placing headlines and visuals. And tip number 4, which could also be an exercise you could do to sharpen your skills, is to try sketching thumbnails with just lines. This will test your visual hierarchy before designing. Lines might seem basic, but they are your first tool in visual storytelling. So next time that you're designing, pause and ask, what are my lines saying and where are they leading? Okay, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, give it a like. And please consider subscribing, because right now I am building a whole upgraded design series. And next week we are tackling shape, which brings its own whole vibes and psychology. Let me know in the comments what type of line you gravitate towards in your own design work. Is it bold, structured, flowy, or unpredictable maybe? And that's all I have for you for now. See you next time. Bye.